It is the moment you have all been waiting for. It is our monthly stats episode. We dive into the numbers, tell you everything that's going on and not going on in the real estate market in the Fraser Valley, because that's typically what we focus on. Give a little bit of prescription of what we're seeing in the market and maybe some strategies that can potentially help you. And we'll probably banter a little bit as well. And there has been some interesting updates that Cole will touch on as well. Things that we always like to touch on in the news, political stuff, let's say, in the stats episodes. So yeah, action-packed one, and we're excited to be back with you. As always, this podcast is for informational purposes only. It does not constitute any legal, tax, investment, financial, or any other advice. It does not it's not intended to cause or induce breach of any existing agency agreement. So close to nailing it. That's too bad. Not editing that out because I'm an honest person. Cool. Let's take it away with the Cole's notes.
Yeah, we'll give you the benefit of the doubt today. Yeah. That's okay. Let's jump right into it.
-1 to start the episode.
That's right. We'll redeem ourselves.
Yeah, tripped over the blue line. All right, let's go.
Let's jump right into it. So we're gonna keep it fairly short and sweet on my economic update or the Cole's notes today. So we saw a rate cut on September 17th, which wasn't really a big surprise. And it's good news for people that have a variable rate mortgage, or if you're carrying any type of loan that has a variable component to it in terms of the interest rate. It's great. So where do things go from here, Austin? Probably, maybe not probably, but there's some that believe we'll see another rate cut before the end of this year. And then there's a lot that think we'll see 2 rate cuts by kind of spring 2026. So that's probably 2 out of the next 5 or 6 announcements, which is reasonable. But as we know by now, like, things change quickly. And it's really the most valuable thing to look at is what's happened recently. And that information will usually tell us what's likely going to happen with the Bank of Canada. So, we'll see what happens. Will there be more rate cuts? Probably at some point. Hopefully for some people, we'll get one before the end of the year, and that would be a nice little present for some. But we'll just wait and see.
Santa's bringing a rate cut.
Yeah, exactly. So on the big news that kind of Austin alluded to a little bit, there's been some changes, or there will be some changes, I should say, coming in January of 2026. Just to summarize this really quickly, and I'll preface by saying that Austin and I are going to do a bit of a deeper dive on this. We'll try to get you guys some more thorough information about this and give you a better idea of how we understand this and what are some things that maybe you should do to prepare yourself for this. So what I'm talking about is OSFI, which is like the regulating body of financial institutions, has put out a new rule that's saying that it's going to be harder for investors, especially small investors like people that own a couple rental properties, to utilize all of the income that they have from the rental properties as well as their personal income to qualify for mortgages. They're just going to have stricter rules about how they look at that income, which can make it a little bit more difficult for people to qualify for the mortgages that they need, especially for those investment properties. And I mean, the big reasoning here is it's because of risk mitigation. They're trying to eliminate risk for mortgage lenders, because when things go bad, it's ultimately the lenders that are impacted by it. But as I said, that's kind of just a high level of what this new policy that's going to be coming into place. And Austin and I'll do a bit of a deeper dive on this and provide you guys with some more info. That's all I got today for an update. Austin, anything else before we jump right into it?
Yeah, if I can just add something to go back to what you were talking about before, the reference to rate cuts, or one just happening and another one happening. Typically what we see is the Bank of Canada typically won't just do one rate cut or one rate raise for the hell of it. Typically, if we see indication of them moving in one direction, typically that means that they're anticipating, not just it being a one-off, but probably, typically it's a cycle. So if they drop once, the anticipation is that it's probably going to happen again until it doesn't. We saw that when they started to raise rates, every meeting it went up, got to a point where they didn't for a while, and then they started to make their way back down. then there was a little bit of a pause, and now we're seeing another one. So I'm not saying that rates are going to fall through the floor by any means. I don't think we'll ever really see that again. But typically what we see is it's a cycle. So if they do one, there typically we can anticipate, or history shows us that we'll probably see another one, and that's where that comes from. Like Cole said, that can change on a dime. So just wanted to kind of basically just point out why we are anticipating that being a thing.
Yeah, exactly. We're just trying to give you guys as much information as we have and give you an idea of what could be coming. But like Austin said, anything can change at any time. So we'll just wait and see, and we will provide updates as they come along. So let's jump into it, Austin. As we've started to do a little bit more recently, we've done the headline of the stats package because it kind of paves the way for what to expect. So the headline this week, or this month, sorry, is sustained elevated inventories soften Fraser Valley home prices further, spurring bump in sales. So, I mean, it's pretty straightforward what that means. There's still lots of inventory in the Fraser Valley, which has helped push prices down. And because of that, we're starting to see a little bit more activity in sales. Austin, anything on that before we get into some numbers here?
Yeah, I mean, when I was looking, and I have the stats package open in another window, sorry, and I use a stats. So they send out a package basically, and then the package goes to like an interactive site that we can use. So what I'm kind of looking at when I look at active listings for the whole Fraser Valley, all property types. So right now we are sitting at as of September, 8,704 listings. We saw at the very peak, it was around 8,900. In history, when we look at all of the Fraser Valley, the only time we had more listings than right now was in July of 2008. Go into the history books and look at maybe what happened back in 2008 to kind of tell you why that happened. So again, we're seeing really high inventory levels still. Typically, we did see them go down a little bit from August, or from like the peak of July, like May, June, July. They've come down just slightly by a couple hundred listings, maybe. I do anticipate maybe that coming up a little bit more again. There is a lot of listings right now, and obviously some have come off the market. Some of those people still probably do want to sell or are thinking of selling. They might wait till spring. But yeah, we're still seeing prices kind of soften just because there is so much out there. And we'll dive into that more with some different notes and in the next 15, 20 minutes here.
Yeah, so Austin was just talking about listings. I'll give you guys the usual kind of stats on this. So new listings were up about 23% month over month, which is quite a bit. And that's 3% increase year over year. So that would be from last September. And then active listings, they were around the same. They went up about 1% month over month. But again, 17% higher year over year. Here's my interpretation of this, Austin, and you can speak to whether or not this is true. Coming out of the summertime, it's not unlikely that we would see listings go up because people are starting to get back into the swing of, maybe they have kids that are in school, they're returning from vacation, and they're like, hey, I want to get my place sold before the end of the year. Does that all kind of typically happen, or are we seeing something else here?
Yeah, that's exactly what happens. Like when we say new listings are up 23% in September month over month, basically what we're doing is we're looking at how many new listings there were in August. That number was around 2,500. And then in September, we had 3,151, so 3,151. So yeah, a lot of people pushing those new listings until September to kind of catch the fall market. Yeah, a lot of people go away. It's quiet in August. We saw that, we felt that, and then a lot of people are kind of kicking things back into gear in September. So yeah, you nailed it.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, I'm just doing your job for you. No problem. All right, let's talk about sales, because we just said that the headline says we did see an increase in sales, and we did. Sales increased about 3% from August, from August. but it's still 2% lower than September of last year. So transactions did go up a little bit. It wasn't significant though. It was only like, it's less than 100 more, for example, but we did see a little bit more activity. And again, I think that plays to what we just talked about. More people are now not only listing their place, but more people are now looking again because they've gotten out of the summer and they're like, hey, I'd really like to get into a place before the end of the year. Maybe I should start looking now. Anything else to add there?
Nope.
Okay.
Let's go on to the next couple points here.
Okay. Sales to active listings ratio. So if you guys remember, this is exactly what it sounds like. It's how many sales compared to how many active listings are we seeing. It's still 9% as it was in August, which is low. And what that means, Austin, is what?
Buyer's market.
Exactly. We're still in a buyer's market based on that specific metric. And I think Austin and I would both agree that it definitely feels that way. It is a buyer's market. And maybe Austin, I'll let you kind of speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, so buyer's market, typically we kind of determine what the market is, let's say, based off of sales to active ratio. So, 12 to 20 is what we would consider a balanced market. 20 or above would be a seller's market, which means like a really good chunk of homes are moving. And then anything kind of under 12 is what we would call buyer's market. So right now, if you think about it, for every 10 listings, one of them is selling. Just less than that at 9%. And again, with that, there are some nuances to it, right? Like this is looking at the whole Fraser Valley. So some areas are going to be a lot more active. Some of them have a lot more inventory. So again, it just really, really depends on area and products. In some areas, detached homes are moving really well. In some areas, there's more apartment listings than you can understand, which is throwing those numbers off. So yeah, lots of nuance there.
Yeah, no, I think that's important to note. We've talked about that before, but these are generalizations based on an entire area. And it's good to know that different areas, are going to do better than others at different times, and different products in different areas as well. So, yeah, so let's talk about pricing. As well as in the headline, it mentioned that pricings continue to fall, and they have. So month over month, we're down about 1% across the board. That's a fairly significant drop for 1 month, I would say. I think last month we were just under 1%. And then the other number that's, I think, valuable here is we're more than 5% down year over year. So that's not insignificant, right? I mean, that's 50 grand on $1 million home. Like that's 25 grand on a $500,000 condo. That's not insignificant. And I mean, those are just obviously generalized numbers. Again, these do change across the board, and I'll get into more specifics of each of the product types here. But anything you want to add to that, Austin? Like any surprises there?
No, when we look at that, like another interesting number, we don't include this in the stats, is like percentage of list price. So basically, for what you list for, what is the average place selling for? So when you see things, so what I have pulled up here is in my interactive stats package is all property types, all price ranges, resale, as well as new construction. So we're sitting at like 97.3% of list price. So for example, if you listed a place at $1 million, it might sell for like 970. So everything kind of coming in slightly under list price. Yeah, that over time is going to slowly deteriorate prices down, so then if the next listing sells at 97% of list price and you match up with the other one, and again, this is like really general numbers, all of a sudden that slowly starts to kind of peck away at what things are selling for. And then you see over time, all of those little notches come down, and then you're maybe looking at 5% off of year over year numbers.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And that's, I mean, we've seen prices come down now for a little while. It's obviously hard to know exactly what's going to happen long term, but there's nothing to indicate right now that we're going to see a shift. We're just kind of have to keep watching and seeing what the market does.
Yeah, one thing I would maybe add to that too, just before we go on, when we're looking at like year over year, those changes, that's obviously a long time horizon. Like that's, not just from this month to last month. That is, you know, 8 to 12 months ago. And again, there was spurts and it's not just a straight line. We had months where we were more active, less active, et cetera, et cetera. So lots to unpack there, but we'll keep it simple for the point of the pod.
Yeah, no, you're right though. It's a direct comparison to September of 2024, and I think that's worth noting, because it might not be a 5% across the board. It's just a direct comparison. Okay, let's talk about our asset classes. So detached, we saw those drop about 1.2% month over month. Townhomes were down 1.5%, and then apartments were down 0.7%. So townhomes saw the biggest decrease month over month, but I mean, as we mentioned already, across the board, it's about a 1% drop. And I mean, speaking to year over year again, each of those classes have all gone down, obviously, as well. They're averaging around 5 to 6%, which makes sense. Yeah, I mean, pricing is down. That's the good news for buyers. Prices are lower than they were last year. They're lower than they were last month. And there's no guarantee that prices will continue to come down, but there's also no way to know when prices will either kind of flatten or start to increase again.
Yeah, I'm definitely just anecdotally having more conversations with people as well of them thinking of getting into the market. I think a lot of our generation and younger, or even, you know, some older, right? They're seeing this as a really sweet spot to potentially get into the market. They see that prices are down. They see that rates have come down a little bit. There's lots to choose from, and they feel like they can get some good deals. Some people are getting some help from family to finally get off the sidelines and into the market. So yeah, I've had a couple conversations with people recently in regards to exactly that. So yeah, I mean, I feel like we're some more buyers are getting off the sidelines. Do I think it's going to be enough to eat through all the inventory? Probably not. But it's still people are seeing the opportunity right now, which is great to see, and that's what we talk about. There's the perfect market for everyone, and right now it's for people that are thinking of getting into the market or upsizing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you won't know that the market has changed until it has. That doesn't mean that you are going to miss the bus per se, but what I'm trying to say is that things can change and you look back and go, oh man, I wish I had bought 3 months ago. Well, you won't know that until it's been 3 months is what I'm trying to say. So it's never a bad idea to be ready, if you're thinking about entering the market, and then make a decision based on what works for you at that.
Totally.
Okay, so last thing we like to touch on, guys, is days on market. This is pretty boring this week or this month. And the reason I say that is because pretty much every single asset class is the same. So they're all averaging about 5.5 weeks on market. It's nothing really exciting there. It just means that it's going to take some time to sell your place. And again, no surprise. Lots of things on the market, lots of listings on the market, excuse me. And not a ton of people buying compared to how many places are on the market. So it's going to take a bit of time if you're looking to sell. And you have to be strategic. And I'll let Austin talk to this point again. But if you're looking to sell and buy at the same time, there's definitely some considerations that you have to make. So Austin, I'll let you talk.
Yeah, I think when I see this again, it's the average number. So we're seeing some stuff sell within a couple weeks. I'm seeing some things like 0 to 7 days on market, and they're selling. Obviously, that doesn't include if they have conditions and stuff. So maybe that ends up being a couple more days on market, but that's when it gets the offer. I think this really relates to what we were talking about with selling percentage of list price, and that being the average, right? So the longer you stay on the market at whatever price that you're on the market, you lose leverage to basically say that, hey, we're great value for that price. So again, with that, when you are on the market for, let's say, 5+ weeks, or even, I mean, even sometimes too, it can be less than that if you're not getting activity and not getting showings. It might be a strong indicator that the market has kind of rejected the price that you're listed at. So it's important to have those conversations and just be honest with yourself on what your place is worth. Really use that data, like the stats package. Look at this is the technical stuff, I call it, of like, hey, here's the numbers, here's like the results data, but also look at the tactical stuff. So don't just look at the prices that things are selling for and all those data points. Go through individually look at the homes that are selling and be brutally honest. How are they better, worse, and different? If you have a comparable product, has there been updates to the unit? Is it painted nicer? Is it in better condition? Like all of those things really start to add up, and really help determine what your place is worth when less things are selling. And you need to be the expert on that, or your agent. Or if you're an agent listening to this, about talk to your clients, this is what you need to do.
Yeah. Here's some free advice.
Here's some free advice.
But no, Austin's absolutely right. There is more. This is where the people that know what they're talking about are the most valuable, to be honest. And this is where the people that are willing to put in the time to learn the things that they need to know that can help their clients are going to be better off, because they are truly the experts when it comes to these things. I don't want to take anything away from Austin or his profession, but I mean, it's when everybody's buying, it's easier to sell a home, and that's because but straight.
It's also tougher for people to buy as well. But yeah,
what's that? Sorry,
it's also tougher for people to buy.
Well, exactly, right. There's more competition, but it's not as hard to sell. I mean, and what I'm talking about is I'm talking about like 2021, 2022, where like places were flying off the market. And it's the same with being a mortgage broker. Like anybody can do a mortgage. Like, I'm not to say that mortgages are easy. I'm just saying that like when everybody is trying to buy and they're like, I just want the best rate, then I mean, it's very easy to work with clients like that, is what I'm trying to say. But my point here is that when things aren't as easy, that's when you kind of have to work a little bit harder and be valuable to your clients, is what I'm trying to say. So
if I can piggyback off that, which is my favorite thing to do, piggyback on things. As a realtor, as an agent, that whole like, hey, we have to do a price adjustment thing. If let's say your place hasn't sold, it's been 5.5 weeks, that conversation absolutely sucks. Like, it is not enjoyable. However, it is also one of those things that you owe to yourself and you owe to your clients to be like, hey, like, your ultimate goal is to move. Maybe you thought that you were going to sell for X, and maybe you're going to have to sell for Y. And it's important to let the public, or the people that are out there buying homes, know that, this is a price that you're willing to take. But with that too, if you are in that position where you're upsizing, or if you are, even downsizing, right? Like we just went over for the last 22 minutes here, we're seeing prices still kind of slightly soften. Just know as well that if you have to sell for a little bit less than you thought, that product that you wanted to buy is you're probably going to be able to get it for a little bit less than you thought as well. So it's all relative.
Exactly. That's a very good point, Austin. Maybe you can actually just go a little bit into that a little bit more, and then we'll wrap this one up.
Yeah. So like, let's say hypothetically, like, let's just use these numbers here. I'm going to try and do math on the fly. Bear with me, guys. So, when you're seeing condos down 0.7% month over month, let's, for simple math. So when we look at apartments and townhomes, so townhomes are down 1.5% month over month, and apartments are down 0.7% month over month. So let's say, you're listing at 515 for your condo. Let's say that ends up selling at 500K instead. So again, rough math on that, I think, is going to be around 0.7% roughly. You can maybe do some math and some calculator, but I'm just throwing some numbers out here. And then let's say that if you were looking at getting into a townhome at 850, and that product is then selling for 825, you're kind of splitting the difference, if you know what I mean, right? Like, you're selling for 15 grand less, you're buying for 25 or 30 grand less. All of that starts to add up. That's, smaller down payment required, slightly smaller mortgage. Like, your math is going to be pretty close. Obviously there's some limitations to that. If you're really trying to get to 20% down, and obviously there's a ton of variables. It's not just I sell at this price and I buy the other one and that's that. There's a lot of moving parts. But again, those goalposts are changing on the destination you're going to, as well as where you currently are. So
exactly. And I think that's a really good thing that we talk about often, but I think it's important to reiterate, because it feels like you're taking a haircut here doesn't mean you're not getting more of a benefit to where you're going. And that's kind of the biggest thing that I would want people to take away from that is it's all relative. That's maybe a big cliche, but it truly is. And it's important to know those numbers when you're making those considerations about moving, because you might end up doing better than you think. Yeah. So in terms of where things are at, guys, we did see a little bit of a jump in sales, which is good. More people are putting their houses on the market compared to the summer, which we're not surprised about. Prices are slowly falling, which is making it a bit more enticing for buyers to get into the market. And then last but not least, as part of the Cole's Notes section, I talked a little bit about some new rules that are coming, and how they would they're mostly going to impact smaller investors, so people with maybe a couple rental properties, even one rental property. And Austin and I are going to do a bit of a deeper dive on that in terms of another episode, but that's just something that is important for people to be aware of because it's coming pretty quick. Actually, it's coming January 2026, so it really is only just over a year away. And it's good for people to know about that before it becomes something that they have to be worried about and plan ahead for it too. So yeah, that's all I got, guys. Austin, anything else before we wrap it up?
No, I think that is perfect, my friend.
All right, let's do it.
Well, thank you guys for joining us for another episode. We have some really exciting things that we will be doing for the month of October. We want to have a theme basically for a month that we know that this is October, that we're doing this episode. We definitely wanted to kind of stick to our guns, stick to our roots, and have the stats episode that I know everybody craves. Everybody just waits. Oh, I can't wait for them to talk about numbers while I'm driving around or at my workout or whatnot. But it's something that we love to do. It's a great way to be experts on the market, to know our things and to dive into these numbers, because that makes having conversations with clients and knowing all of this data that much easier. But we're going to be doing in October an agent expert series. So we've invited on some pretty cool people. Some of them you've met already through us. Some of them brand new, and we're excited to let's say show off these people that we know and how awesome their businesses are and what they do. We know that you will love us the best, but we'll show you some other cool people too. I say that sarcastically, obviously. But yeah, just wanted to have a month basically where we focus on from our group of listeners. Definitely there's some of the public, but there's also some fellow agents, fellow entrepreneurs, and we just wanted to highlight how cool people run their businesses, and hopefully you guys can get some golden nuggets from that as well. So not going to share the list of everybody that we're having on just yet, but really excited for a couple people that we'll be chatting with, and you'll get to meet them soon. So that is all we have for you this week. Take care, enjoy your week, and we'll see you next week.